Broadcasting from the east lot of Joan C. Edwards Stadium, the ThunderCast is here with all the sights and sounds of game day. We are your pregame and tailgate destination. We are your fan base amplification. We are the ThunderCast, and we are live. We are live. Well, Russ is live from a soggy Joan C. Edwards Stadium, and I am live from a warm and dry home office studio down here in sunny Land O'Lakes, Florida. Russ, it's the Herd and Gardner-Webb for the first time back at Joan C. Edwards Stadium since the opener. That was Norfolk State headed to Huntington. What is the vibe around the stadium? Because from my view, it looks a little dreary.
No, man, it looks great. Sun's out, guns out. We've got 70,000 out here.
Oh, dang.
Dry weather. Yeah, probably bad angle, but back here there's sunshine and everything. No, man, it is dreary. It's not too cold. It's just obviously wet. We've got a couple of tents over top of us, and not a lot of people out yet. Still, 3 hours till kick, so a lot of people are not going to be out tailgating like we are that early before the game with this weather. It was not horrible here, but it was bad enough that they canceled like all the youth soccer and stuff like that this morning. So it's just been nonstop rain since last night.
Yeah, I think it's something that's going to be the theme of the day. I was checking the weather forecast earlier, and it looks like it's right around what AccuWeather is saying a 50% chance of rain, because actually some blocks of weather or some blocks of hours throughout the day, it didn't show like rain. It was just like clouds, but it's always up there around 50%. So I don't think it's going away today. It's something that Herd fans and these players on both sides of the field are gonna have to deal with. I don't think you're gonna see too much of a break if there is one.
Yeah, and I'm not one for embellishment, so I'm fairly certain I'm dealing with a lot worse than what you had down in Florida here recently.
Well, that's true, and I told you, right before we were starting to record the regular ThunderCast a few days ago, I'd lost my Wi-Fi connection. I'd had it all day long. But right when we were looking to do the show was supposed to be the worst part of the weather that I was going to see. And sure enough, it knocked out my Wi-Fi for not long. I think it was really just the network adjusting to the added wind and stuff. And because I got it back within maybe 45 minutes to an hour, it was relatively weak here. I know that I had some fellow Floridians that got it much, much worse. I am well aware of how lucky and how blessed we were to have avoided most of the bad parts of Hurricane Ian. So I don't doubt that you are getting worse than I got. I got rain all day, but it wasn't hard. A little bit of added wind over the norm, but there have been summer storms this year that were just worse for me in my neighborhood.
Well, and really, that's all we have here. It's a light drizzle is all it is. It's more a nuisance than anything. I've got rain collecting above me and dripping down every now and then, and no doubt you'll see when it gets too heavy, it's going to just splash like a waterfall behind me. But let's talk a little bit, if fans noticed, we've been talking for a long time about spot 34 in the east lot, and obviously that is a paved lot, and that's not where I'm at. So this week they opened up what they're calling the C lot. This was a former church right here, and then a parking lot kind of behind us here. To my right, your left. And they, right before the first game, got this knocked down, and they have now painted some lines, and they have, I'm going to guess, about 80 spots over here. And we purchased a couple for the last remaining games to give us a little bit more footprint, and especially for this weather, we could put up a couple of tents and everything to keep everyone dry and just have a little bit of better location for this tailgate.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool, right? Because now you've got a nice view behind you there of the M Club gazebo. You're right next to the end zone entrance. And this looks like it could be a more user-friendly location for what we're trying to do, right? It kind of, instead of having to walk all the way around the stadium now to get to the east lot from the west lot or vice versa, you just get to be kind of catty corner to both lots. And you've got alley access now, so it's really easy to just pull up and drop some stuff off and kind of take a little bit of extra time to get set up. But I like this setup. This is a cool opportunity. This is another good opportunity for Marshall to offer some premium parking spaces for their fans and create a better tailgate environment just for folks that maybe want. I mean, I know most folks are going to be able to gauge where you're at based on the location of the stadium. But if you're driving down Fifth Avenue, there was a yellowish, kind of golden-ish brick church, tan brick, that was sitting there between McDonald's and some of the other lots. And it's directly across the street from where Burger King was and Captain D's and stuff like that. So that's where this C lot is. And it looks just like it, once they get it paved, looks like it's going to be a pretty dope place to be tailgating.
Yeah, so until it gets paved, today in this corner, there's a little bit of sand and dirt and things like that right up to the surface of the gravel. The rest of it is all gravel, but it seems to have like pulled over here. So I've got a little bit of a swamp here underneath me that you can't see, but still very nice right here on the corner. We're right on the alley. We were able to get over here. We've got a third tent being set up right now, so we're going to have plenty of room to keep people dry. Once it's paved, though, yeah, this will be a premium spot, especially we've been talking about what's going to happen here at the end zone with the renovations and everything. So I have to imagine, people would want to be in this lot, to be walking right through the gate into that new beer garden destination area, especially if your seats are back here.
Yeah, and it looks like a prime spot to be a first mover for the ThunderCast, because I think that'll be a pretty sought-after lot, right? So the west lot's always going to be, numero uno on the list of places people want to be for the reasons they want to be there. It's a big tailgate. It's the main spot.
Yeah.
But
you can walk around everywhere, that sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, but for me, I kind of like this better because you're still just short walk away from all that's going on over there. You can still experience Thunder Street back there when it's going on. But we have the ability to be a little bit removed from all that added noise that Thunder Street is going to put out there. So we'll be able to do what we need to do. And we're right there, man. We're right there to just walk in the game, walk out of the game, be next to the beer garden and all that kind of stuff. So this is pretty cool. I'm glad that, we were able to make a move on that and secure some spaces there, even for the rest of this year. Even though it's not paved and it's not ideal, so to speak, it's going to be getting colder, so the ground's going to harden up, and it's not just going to always be wet and muddy. This might be the only time you have to deal with this season.
Well, I don't know. You know as well as I do. It seems like it rains on game day here. At least it did for several years. We were rain, and some of those cold November rains, to quote a song, might not be ideal over here. But I don't really know if it'd be ideal on pavement either. It's just one of those cold and rainy days that we're going to tailgate no matter what, right?
We're going to tailgate.
We're going to tailgate. Russ Livingood is going to tailgate. And if Kyle Walker is watching, Kyle, I'm going to eat so many hot dogs it's going to make you sick.
Well, wait a minute. Today is Cam's Ham Day, right?
It is.
So
yep.
You get a little bit of an upgrade over a hot dog, depending on where that hot dog comes from. All right, I'm going to harp on that. I'll die on that hill because I enjoy a good quality West Virginia style hot dog. But I do also miss the fact that I haven't eaten a Cam's Ham sandwich in several years. So I am jealous of you on that front. That's a nice little cool local spot that doesn't often get a lot of tailgate shine.
Yeah,
that's coming to Jones C. Edwards Stadium today at the ThunderCast tailgate. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and where I live, walking distance on the south side over there from Cam's Ham, and I don't get there a lot, but this might make it to where I want to walk over there every now and then, pick something up, get a little taste of it for the first time in a while and whet my appetite, as it were. Me and food. Me and Huntington food. I'm all about it. And I'm glad that we're doing things that shines on local places. Doing this show, I can't really be cooking the whole time like I like to do for tailgates, that sort of thing. So having local food is A1, I would say, or AB. A1 would be me cooking.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, as long as I've known you, which is a quarter century now, you've always tried to be a top-tier host in whatever capacity that means. If it's parties, tailgates, or whatever.
Did I hear you right? Did you say tried or succeeded?
Well, I mean, you've always succeeded, yes, but you've always tried. It's always been important. It's always been something that you've wanted to do is to be a top-tier host in whatever capacity that means. And from a personal standpoint, every time I come to Huntington, since moving to Florida, I come and I crash with you and your family, and you guys never like, all right, dude, it's run its course. It's time to go home.
It's been 3 months.
Yeah. But no.
All right, ThunderCast Live is back. We've had a little bit of problems here with the Wi-Fi and other things, all the rain. It took us a while to get back online, so sorry that we missed you guys. I don't know where it really cut off. I have no screen to look at to see, but we had Matt McCormick over here earlier, and I think it cut off during his little talk, so I'm going to bring Matt back over. KD, you won't be able to hear Matt, right? I mean, you'll be able to hear Matt. Matt won't be able to hear you, so no questions for him or whatever. But, Matt, we were talking right before we had the technical difficulties about you being a local business owner and you sponsoring using local business, Cam's Ham, and just what does that mean to you to, one, sponsor this tailgate and be able to do that?
Yeah, it was a no-brainer for us. We love what you and KD have done. I think you've really filled a void for diehard fans of Marshall athletics. And so when you came up with this concept, especially the live tailgate, no-brainer. And then I really love the fact that we're going to use a well-established Huntington restaurant like Cam's Ham to provide the food. So it means a lot for us to be a part of it. We're excited.
Well, we'll talk more with Matt later. Matt, thank you very much, and we'll do a little in-depth about you and your business, and thanks again for sponsoring.
I'm going to get back over here and work on my tan.
Yeah. All right, KD, we're back, and you might be able to hear it. I don't know, but it sounds like
I hear everything.
The guys are playing November Rain in the background here for us.
Somebody tell them it's October.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. Chuck Chill, why don't you put it on October Rain?
Is there a song called October Leftover Hurricane? Because that's what we're experiencing right now. And it's really playing hell with the Wi-Fi connection. That's
yeah. Right. What are you going to do, right? You just got to roll with it. We've got a tailgate that we got to do. I'm going to tailgate, as I mentioned earlier. My friends are going to tailgate.
It doesn't matter. We're having fun doing this, and if the rain and the weather doesn't want to agree with it, then so be it. Because it doesn't matter. We're just going to have a good time.
What I really hate is those people that can't make it, that are out of state, out of town, that sort of thing, that are tailgating vicariously through us while watching, that they have to deal with the technical difficulties and all that. But so yeah, we've got everything set up over here. We've got 3 tents, try to keep people dry. DeAndre Reeves is going to stop by. He'll probably be here.
You cut out. We didn't even cover that. I lost all of my feed, and I heard that as it all was going away. So I don't know how many people actually heard that the first time around.
Yeah, so I don't know either, and it's probably going to be, we're going to take a break, and that was one of the things that I mentioned, but DeAndre Reeves will be here, and he has his son with him, and they're trying to make their way over here to the tailgate, and they were at the Cam Henderson Center, and he said that he'd probably be here for segment 2. We're going to do this segment, and we're going to take a break. During that break, we're going to have the interviews that I did last night with 4 of the members of the 92 team. And those will air while it shows a little bit of our tailgate. And then we are also going to have DeAndre Reeves on. And hopefully we're going to have those 92 team members, if you see behind me here at the M Club gazebo, that's where their tailgate is going to start at 1:30. So tentatively, they said that they would try to be over here, weather permitting, and then walk across the street. And I feel like we'll be able to snag a couple of them when they see us over here, and we'll talk to them as well.
Well, it sounds like, an action, content-packed second segment. So let's get a little bit in about the game, right? We've talked about the weather and how dreary it is. We've talked about what we've got coming up. And yeah, it's a little bit of a format change from the first week or the first tailgate, because we did 4 really small segments with sizable breaks in between. And this time it's going to just be 2 longer segments with 1 break in between. We don't want to take up everyone's afternoon, but we still want to make it user-friendly for Russ, who's actually tailgating. So let's talk a little bit about this Gardner-Webb game, right? We know now that it's going to be slippery, and things that we talked about leading in our preview are proving to be probably going to be true. Like things like ball security is going to be ever important. The ability to establish a run game is probably going to be really important. Whoever is able to control that line of scrimmage, more so in this game than most other games, even though it's important in every game. In games like this where it's slippery, leverage is going to play a huge role, more so than normal. The team that's going to be able to control that line is probably going to have the most success today. And we all know that success doesn't always equate to a win, but it does equate to giving you a better chance to get that win.
Yeah, so being here live
there you go.
Being here live and seeing the weather the way it is, if this is continuing and it's supposed to do this, if not more, for the duration of the game, ball control is going to be the number one thing. I don't know that this Gardner-Webb team can pass on us or that we can pass on them. I know we had talked about trying to reestablish that pass after the Troy game. I really don't see it today with how this is. Maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll slip in a bomb here and there. But I'm looking at short passes, passes out of the backfield, hitting the tight end and drag routes. More than anything, the run game, what you talked about. And expect to see lots of people not running full speed, but doing more to control the ball with 2 arms on the ball at all times, not just when it's close to contact, just running with the ball secured. That's what I see today. Probably a lower scoring game than what both of us had thought.
Well, let me put it to you this way. We talked about that Gardner-Webb has the ability to pass the ball. It's kind of what they do better on offense versus the run anyway. So taking that into account, this Marshall team is just better built than this Gardner-Webb team to have to run the ball, say, 60 times and have success in that. So this is in Marshall's wheelhouse. Even though Marshall's not an option team or a super run-heavy team, if you're just taking both rosters and putting them side by side, Marshall is better built to have to run 60 or 70 times, let's say, in order to grind this game away and put points on the board. So you got to like the Hurts' chances in an ugly one like this, in a nasty environment like this. You got to think Marshall's just deeper and better at the run game. And not even to taking into account that we've got several mobile quarterbacks too. So you can always drop back to look, give a passing look, and then take off with your quarterback. So this could be an interesting type offensive showing today for Marshall.
Yeah, it could. I look for the defense to put up a really good, not a shutout, but just really, really stifling their run defense. And I think that Leyburn and company, I expect it to be Ethan Payne, maybe some other people, but I really expect them to be able to move the ball still. So I still just see it as maybe a very, very small scoring game.
Well, this is an opportunity to where some of your younger guys, if you need to play a lot of players, this is one of those games to where your younger players can build some rapport with the coaching staff as far as reliability goes, right? Because you're thinking, okay, if they can hold on to the ball and they can gain us yardage in this nasty situation, then we can probably trust them a little bit more in a regular situation. So you might see A.J. Turner get some, carry or two. You might see Ethan Payne, of course, get some carries because we had talked about, will we see a return for Rasheen Ali? And we both thought, well, yes, but now with weather pending is what we kind of tabbed it as.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's going to be that way. It looks like you're probably better served to just let's take it easy on rushing Rasheen back.
We've got 11 more days before that next game before I think that he'll be up here.
Yeah, and it's a fair point. We'd all like to see him back on the field, but I don't know if this is the ideal situation, the ideal circumstances to throw him back out there. Even if he does feel 110% and he's like, yeah, I'm good to go, everything's fine. I just don't know because those freaky, weird things can happen on a wet field. And so you may see guys, like I said, behind LeBourne, behind Payne, you may see Maurice Jones getting a handful of carries. You may see Isaiah Gordon get a handful of carries, A.J. Turner get a handful of carries, and just see if some of these guys, but still, some of them have only appeared in that home opener, so they still have a red shirt they can protect. You get to spread out the carries a little bit and see who can do things for you in a situation like this.
Yeah, at this point, anyone we're speaking only of the backfield, but anyone that could redshirt, A.J. Turner's had 2 games that he's appeared in. He had 2 carries last week against Troy. Other than that, the other 2 true freshmen still have that ability. They played in 1 game, so I kind of see where you're at. If we need to spell anybody or if we need to get some fresh legs in, we've got plenty of people here. Man, they are killing it. They are killing it. We had Credence playing there right before about have you ever seen the rain? And now we've got no rain, only on lyrics alone because there's plenty of rain down here around me.
It's wishful thinking by whoever the DJ is up there.
So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that we're probably going to hear purple rain at some point, but. I tell you what I want to hear. There's no thunder out here. There's going to be some on the field. I've got to hear some thunderstruck. So I'd like to see if I could make that happen.
I don't think that's going to not happen. I can't remember a game day where that hasn't happened. But let's get back to the importance and also the pseudo non-importance of this game today, right? Because it's important for a number of reasons. A, Marshall's on a 2-game losing streak that needs to be ended. It's important because it's a home game. It's important because it's the next game. Yeah. And it's important because after this, everything counts in the conference standing. Why this game isn't necessarily important is it doesn't count in the conference standings, and that's about it. So the reasons it does matter far outweighs the reasons it does not matter. We talked about it on the ThunderCast. I'm not too sure right now that even if you go out and it's a astronomically horrible set of circumstances that relates to half a dozen turnovers, a la Middle Tennessee State, or if it's a game to where only one team that can adapt to the weather rears its ugly head, a la Charlotte a few years ago. I'm not too sure that this is the type of game that Marshall's going to be able to quietly just look past and go, you know what, we couldn't get it done in that one, because this is Gardner-Webb. This isn't Troy. This isn't Bowling Green. This is a team that you're supposed to handily beat, given any circumstances, any set of circumstances. So,
we are, right? And weather doesn't matter when you're FBS versus FCS or the level that we're at versus the level they're at. This is still a good Gardner-Webb team. I'm not suggesting that they're world beaters or anything, but we saw what they did against Coastal Carolina. You still have me, KD?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, my headphones just cut out here. They cut back in. I'm getting a little problems because of the weather. But we had talked about this before with Gardner-Webb, 31-27 loss to Coastal Carolina, and they were leading in the fourth quarter, 27-24. This is a dangerous team. They're a pass-heavy team that is kind of limited today, but this team is still no pushover, even at the FCS level. But you are 100% right. This is a game that we have to win. We should win. We have the talent at every position to win. This is one of those that we should be dominating this team.
Yes. Given a normal day, a normal weather day, I would expect Marshall to cruise to at least a 4-touchdown victory here. But, you got to allow for some margin of error and some breaks to not go your way. Because let's face it, in the past couple of weeks, Marshall has had a lot of breaks not go their way. So they are very much on that trend right now. But given all that, if you'll remember, one of my keys to victory in this game is what I said: you have to find reasons why. And this is what I'm talking about. You have to find reasons why. None of that matters. You just get the job done. And Marshall has got to just get the job done. Like, enough's enough. Just go out there and do it, right? You got to go out there and do it. If not, you may be, from a motivation standpoint, from a fan support standpoint, starting to try to regain a lot of those fans that you had from week one.
So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
We've got all this weather considerations going on here with how wet it's going to be. As they are talking about raining men over here. But we've got all this weather. If I had to do an over-under of 3 turnovers combined between both teams, you taking the over or the under?
Yeah, I think actually that's a good number. I would probably maybe push that. If you'd have given me 3 and a hook, I probably would have taken the under. But I think 3 is a good number. And we've seen Marshall account for that on their own here recently. So I think I would like to think that this week there was a real focus and a real emphasis on that very thing. Limiting those turnovers, taking extra care of the ball this week, paying attention to the details and sweating the small things. Something I mentioned going into the Troy game that needed to happen and didn't happen. So I'd like to think that this week, knowing that the weather was coming, knowing what game day was going to look like, that was a legitimate point of emphasis above and beyond what it normally is. And it's normally probably pretty high. So there were probably extra drills that were run and taking care of the ball, extra ball stripping type drills for the defense to try to get at that football when Gardner-Webb has possession. So 3 is a good number. I'm going to push that. If you would have given me 3 and a hook, I would have said under.
All right, so you're saying 3 even is how many turnovers we're going to see, right?
Yeah.
All right. Put you on the spot even further. How many does Marshall take away from Gardner-Webb?
Marshall's got to win the turnover battle in this one, and it just goes kind of without saying. I don't want them to have to overcome being behind in the turnover margin. I think they will have one. We're just on that trend. But give me 2 takeaways to 1 giveaway for the Herd. And now I fully anticipate that there could be a fumble by Marshall that we recover, that we don't lose the fumble. So technically it's not a turnover, but it's a scary moment to where you just kind of, your tummy drops there for a second. So I could see Marshall having more than 1 hiccup, but I think maybe they'll just, hop on that ball and retain possession.
Over under 28 points. Combined.
Combined over. I think that's an over. Yeah, I like Marshall to still get somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 because I just don't think that I think if Laburn gets going, and he gets ahead of steam, and he's able to, like I said in the ThunderCast, get 1 foot to stick, 1 plant foot to stick, he's going to have a hard time, just going down on first contact. Like, these defenders are going to have a hard time bringing him down. He's a bowling ball as it is. He's a hard tackle as it is. And then when you put guys on skates, I think he's going to end up with a 3-touchdown performance on his own. Or let me put it this way, or the run game will account for 3 touchdowns on the day on their own. And you may see one of those like we saw against Notre Dame, where the run game gets you down close and you get a 2-3 yard score to the tight end or just on a quick out, or something like that.
All right, so let me see here. What else can we try to predict here? And I'll get a little bit deeper into this later, but MVP right now, as you see it, for Marshall.
Well, I'm gonna cop out, right? Because in the Player of the Week segment of the show, I said it was going to be Glaber. And I still feel like he's going to be very, very important and integral to what we do as an offense. But I'm going to say the MVPs of this game are going to have to be the Marshall offensive line. It's going to have to be that unit of guys.
Okay. So what else do you got to talk about here for the game? Your predictions, your thoughts. We're going to wrap up our first segment here before we go to a break and play some of those interviews from the 92 team. What else do you have for parting words that we're going to have?
So we'll revisit a little bit of the game in segment 2 when we have DeAndre joining us, because we want to get what he thinks it's going to look like. We want to get the viewpoint of a former player who's played in nasty games like this before, and especially played in nasty games inside this stadium, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is just very much a game of just dealing with it. I talked about it in the ThunderCast. Like, it's the conditions are going to suck, and you're going to have to just be okay with playing in these conditions. Now, there are always those guys that are wired a little bit differently that look forward to playing in nasty, muddy, rainy, wet games. They love that and they live for that, and that's a treat for them. That's what they look forward to. But by and large, I probably think that most guys don't want to play in conditions like this. So it's about adapting to your scenario, adapting to your situation, and overcoming anyway. I like Marshall's firepower. I like Marshall's roster versus the way this Gardner-Webb roster looks. I like Marshall's strengths versus Gardner-Webb's weaknesses, and vice versa. I don't think that they're going to be able to do, Gardner-Webb is going to be able to do enough to account for what Marshall's going to have success in doing. So I like Marshall to cruise to, a 10 to 14 point win. I do think Gardner-Webb's going to score. There's just no reason to take chances. I do think we'll see some of those penalties rear back in, because, when footing is bad and technique can't be sound as it usually is, you're going to see a few more of those holding penalties, or you might see a few more of those false start penalties, just trying to get that extra little jump to get in better position. So I think it's all for naught, and Marshall will come out of here with a win, move to 3-2. But I don't think at the end of it, people are going to be like, all right, well, I really like where we're at right now. I'm not envisioning like a 60-10 win. Like I said, I feel like 24-14 or 28-14 or something like that, to where you're like, all right, ho-hum win. It's a win. Let's look forward to the SBC schedule.
That's very fair, man. And this weather, right now, it's sprinkling, right? It's a little cold for October. It's rainy, but it's not like pouring the rain. Who knows what it's going to do in the next 2 to 3 hours? But I still think that field is going to be slippery, but maybe if it holds off a little bit, they can pass a little bit better. Right now, again, barely sprinkling.
Yeah.
Very good points, though, about the running backs. If Laburn gets started, he could have a big day, especially if everyone is trying. You know how it is when you're running and you're running on a slippery surface. Naturally, you just try to ease into it a little bit. So maybe he is the guy that can move faster than those defensive guys who aren't flying all over the field. He should be faster and more elusive than them. Anyway, he's a better athlete than probably 95% of the people that are on the field with how elusive he is. So maybe he can break some, and I don't know, man. That 28-14 seems kind of ideal, but I don't know if I even see that though. I'm going back and forth between like a 14-7 to maybe we do get 28 points, but I just think it all depends on weather, ball control, what we can do to win this game. It sounds very wishy-washy of me, but if you were here and you could see the weather and think about what might happen here in an hour or 2 hours, we could see two drastically different games.
Of course we could, but don't take take into account the fact that Marshall has a very fast and aggressive defense, so they could gift themselves a touchdown by forcing a turnover down low or down deep in Gardner-Webb territory, or hell, they just might account for a defensive score. So there are things that could go either way. Also, this might be the game to where the Herd special teams return game busts out in a big way for a lot of the same reasons the run game could go. Your returners might have a head of steam by the time they need to make that first move. Well, and now you've got defenders that might not be able to stick it. So a lot of things are playing into what this score could actually look like at the end of the game. But if we're just taking into account everything's a traditional offensive score, I still think Marshall gets in the end zone 4 times on traditional drives.
We right before we wrap up here for this segment 1, we had a comment. Jed is telling us that Perry, who follows us on Twitter and is listening and following along, that he commented that Gardner led in the fourth quarter against Coastal. Perry, we talked about that earlier. It may have been cut off due to technical difficulties, but they were up 27-24, and Coastal came back and won that game 31-27, and they are a danger when they're throwing the ball and all that. I don't know that they'll be able to throw here today. If they can establish a lot of passing against us, it is going to be one of those games that we'll have to say, hey, we've got to stop them. We've got to get some interceptions. We got to get a scoop and a score. We got to get something. But yeah, they are a threat. We're not taking them lightly at all. They showed us, not the last 2 games, but that game against Coastal, that they are a threat to anyone. In that game, the starting quarterback threw for 403 yards, and one of the wide receivers came in for one of those double passes, and he threw for 45. They had 448 yards through the air against Coastal Carolina, who is a very good football team.
Yeah, and one point I got to make about that, they did lead Coastal in the fourth. They led them late into the fourth. I think Coastal retook the lead with about 4 minutes or so to go.
That's
so
correct.
The desperation started coming out in Gardner-Webb, as you would expect, and they ended up being intercepted twice in the final 4 minutes of the game. So it just goes to show you when they start to press, when they start to get a little bit nervous and something has to happen, you can force this quarterback into making I don't want to say bad decisions, because they may not have been bad decisions. We don't know if it was a tipped ball by the wide receiver, whatever. But they will start to press a little bit, which gives a very aggressive defense like Marshall, a very aggressive set of defensive backs like Stephen Gilmore and Abraham, and the opportunity to come down with one and just seal a victory. So take that into account as well. But I'm more along the thoughts with you, Russ, that passing is going to be at a premium. If you can't run today, you're not going to win.
You got to establish the run. You've got to be able to do that. Ball control, I've harped on it the whole time. In this wet conditions, I mean, you're a few bad bounces away from having a bad day. So you've got to control the ball. Hey, we're getting ready to wrap up segment 1, and then we're going to have the entire time you'll see the tailgate going on, but we'll also have a split screen showing interviews that I was able to do last night. It was a great time interviewing 4 people from that 92 team. But I also have to give a shout out to 3 people. That's Caitlin, Evelyn, and Jackson. They just happen to be my children, and they are watching here. I just want to say Dad loves you, and hope you enjoy the game. But KD, take us out of here as we're wrapping up segment 1.
Well, Mr. Kenny says hello to those youngins too, because it's been a few weeks since I've seen them, and maybe I'll get to see them here in a little bit. But I love you guys. I hope to see you soon. Yeah, stick around with us for segment number 2. We're going to take about a 45 minute break. So somewhere around 2 o'clock, we'll come back with segment 2. Enjoy these interviews from the 92 national championship team 30 years ago. Can you believe it? Wow. We're going to come back and hopefully have DeAndre Reeves join us at some point in segment number 2. We'll talk a little bit more about the game. We'll get Matt McCormick back over there to talk about McCormick Insurance Group and give you the lowdown on how they can help you save on your insurance costs. So don't go anywhere. ThunderCast Live will be right back in a little.
Hey, ThunderCast fans, we're here with Glenn Pedro, running back from that early 90s, but definitely the 92 team. And Glenn, thanks for sitting down with me, man. It's great to have you here. I just want to talk a little bit about some of your accomplishments, memories back then, what you're doing now, that sort of thing. So if you wouldn't mind, give everyone an update on what Glenn Pedro is doing now.
Glenn Pedro is living in Atlanta. Right now we moved there from New York 17 years ago. I've been married to my beautiful wife for almost 21 years. Excellent. It will be in January. We have 2 kids, a son and a daughter that's 2 years apart. My daughter is a junior at Southern University, and she runs track there. And my son is an incoming freshman here at Marshall University.
Yeah, Cam Pedro on the roster. You and I talked about him earlier.
Yes.
And we're hoping for some big things here. There's a lot of former football players' sons that are here now or incoming. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing.
It is.
I mean,
yeah.
I think that's a great thing. I mean, the important thing is that they're all good players.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, first and foremost. I mean, I asked my son before he came, I said, you sure you want that type of smoke? Because there's a certain expectation that comes with
the pressure of
right.
being,
Right. And just the legacy alone.
But all the good ones thrive under pressure. And
yes, sir.
I'm glad to have him here. I'm glad to have the other athletes' sons that are here and coming in. I love that lineage. And obviously, he loves Marshall, you love Marshall. Tell me a little bit about your memories from here, not just with football and everything, but what the school means to you.
I mean, I would say, and I'm just being honest, I should have appreciated it more then.
Okay.
But I will, like I appreciate it now. But I will tell you this. I mean, what Marshall means to me, because most of my friends that I keep in touch with now are my best friends from that time period, is that we were one big family. We were always together, whether it be in class, whether it be eating, whether we cried, we slept, we partied together, we did everything together, and that's why these guys, most of them, we're still close till this day.
Yeah.
But, Marshall was a big part of my life, and that's why it means a lot for my son being here, because I wouldn't want him to be anywhere that he wouldn't want to be.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, you and I talked about this before, obviously off camera, but I have to just bring it up. 31 rushing touchdowns. Tied for 6th with Ahmad Bradshaw here, and everyone wants to talk about Bradshaw. He went on to the NFL and everything.
Right.
31 touchdowns, still in the top 10 in rushing, with just below Brendan Knox, Darius Marshall, some big names. But why don't we have a Glenn Pedro appreciation for your? And I know you don't want to toot your own horn, but. I mean, you've got some impressive stats here.
I mean, I don't know. I guess, I feel like I was a consistent player.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say my job wasn't glamorous because I also, aside of the rushing stats and the touchdowns, and there's a few receiving touchdowns too left out on there too.
So you 36
Everybody says
total,
I couldn't
right?
catch, but there's about, I think it's 3 receiving touchdowns.
Okay.
But I took pride in blocking. And that was a part of my game. They said if you were going to be a complete back, you had to run the ball, catch the ball, and be able to block and pass protect. So my coach at the time, Coach Perry, he helped me fine-tune a lot of things that, I did at running back because he was, he played at Oklahoma. But, I don't know. I could just tell you that, what I did, it wasn't glamorous. And, we had a lot of other big names on our roster. And, I never really made like all-conference, all-American. And I could say at the time, I guess, with me coming in, nothing, I'm not going to say nothing was expected, but it kind of came out of nowhere. And it was just an extra addition to the team that other teams didn't expect because I was blocking at the same time.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
If that makes any sense.
And you and Orlando Hatchett were in the backfield at the same time and both putting up good numbers. And then this 92 team, Chris Parker comes in.
Right.
And now you've got 3 amazing running backs. Can you tell me a little bit about that dynamic?
I'll say, Chris Parker was in a class by himself. I say he came in on the tail end of the 92 team, but if anybody looks at those games there, I want to say in that 92 year, Chris Parker almost had 1,000 yards rushing.
Yes, he did.
And he also, and I say he was able to accomplish that is because by the third quarter, we were out the game. Coach Don, they weren't into blowing out teams and stuff like that. They would pull us out the game. So you got a fresh back coming in the fourth quarter, and he's trying to do his thing. But Chris is a great runner, a great back, a great friend. He's my frat brother. We have a long-standing relationship, and I love him like a brother. So
that's awesome.
I'm proud of him and what he was able to accomplish.
So this might be a loaded question. Favorite memory from football? You've got a pretty big one that we're celebrating here tonight, obviously, but is there anything that trumps that?
Favorite memory? I couldn't really point to one because we had so much. I think we had so much success in the 90s, and we did a lot of celebrating. A lot. That wasn't nothing new to those teams because we didn't lose a lot. So
absolutely.
I'll just say the camaraderie with my teammates. We took vacations together, spring break together. Once again, I just harp and say the friendships we had, the friendships that were created in those years were something that's a big factor on my life now and was a big factor on my life then.
How about a favorite play call? And I'm talking about the name of the call that gets called in. Do you remember one that?
Man, that's a stretch. Favorite play call.
We should have brought the offensive coordinator here.
I would say any time I was in a game, it was a favorite call because I never wanted to be on the sideline.
There you go.
So whether it was running, blocking, the kickoff team, pass protection, if I was in the game, I was going to try to affect any play that was called. That's the best thing I can tell you on that.
Hey, that works. Glenn, thank you so much for stopping in. It's a pleasure to meet
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
I appreciate you remembering me.
No, always, man, always.
All right.
All right, so we're back, and we're with defensive coordinator from those years.
Correct.
Coach Mickey Matthews. Mickey, thanks for sitting down with us. What are you up to now?
Well, I don't do anything, and I don't start till lunch every day.
Well, that's great.
So it's pretty good life.
I try to do the same.
No, I tell you what I do. I play golf every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The biggest decision I make every week is whether I'm going to play on Thursday or not. And sometimes that's a little taxing, at my age.
That's amazing. That's great. We have a little bit of a. I'm going to get into a bunch of different things here, but we've got a little bit of a connection here now with the schedule that we have. You were head coach at JMU for 14 years. You were at Coastal Carolina.
Yep.
What do you think about these teams all playing each other in the Sun Belt now?
Well, I think the Marshall faithful, probably the best description I would make. Be careful what you wish for, because you may get it. Is they got it.
Yeah.
They didn't like the other league they were in, and what this league is the Sun Belt East is the old Southern Conference.
Yes, sir.
Southern Conference on steroids.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's because we used to talk about when I was at Marshall, when an app was really good, and Furman, in those days was off the scale good, and Georgia Southern had national championships, and that each game had one play that decided the game, and that was the difference between being 6-5 and 9-2 sometimes. The games were so close, so competitive, a lot of good football programs. And that's where they are right now at Marshall. I mean, Marshall could have a better football team than they had 2 years ago whenever they went to all these bowl games and be 500, because you're playing some football programs that are really good. They have a lot of good football. Old Dominion can play. James Madison can play. Coastal Carolina, has a potential first-round draft pick at quarterback. I mean, you go through the whole league, there's a lot of good football players on all these teams. I think it's going to help attendance. I think it's going to help raise money, but the games are going to be very close, and you're going to lose some tight games against these people.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, actually. I grew up watching the Southern Conference days, and I loved that football. You were a part of that here as a defensive coordinator for the first times that I was watching. Favorite memory, I mean, is there anything that can trump the 92 championship, or is there one that's better? Or?
Well, I could talk to you for the next week about all the memories I have about when I was at Marshall. I don't know if there was one. This is the problem. When you talk to any coach, any football coach, I don't know about the basketball guys, but the football guys, you don't remember the wins, you remember the losses.
Yeah.
When I'm laying awake at night, I remember the losses that hurt so bad. But we had some really. I know one year we played Western Carolina. Of course, everybody thinks they're terrible, but they had a great football program for about 2 or 3 years, and we were down at the half. We drove the length of the field to kick a field goal for the half, and then in the second half we dominated them to beat. And we weren't going to go to the playoffs unless we beat them. But I think probably winning the national championship was big. We played Youngstown. The Boise State game out there in the semifinals just really ripped our hearts out.
Yeah.
We played on an old field, and Chris Parker, who's here tonight, Chris slipped in the open field about 4 or 5 times out there, or he'd have had 350 yards, because Chris was the dominant player in the nation and would have played for 10 years in the NFL if his knees could stand the punch, because Chris Parker was a great football player. Yeah. So I remember the Boise State game. The Youngstown games were great. The Delaware games, we played. Delaware had a great football program in those days. I'm sure I'm getting wordy already thinking about it. I mean, the games, the Appalachian games were terrific. And I remember the last season we played over at Fairfield. We beat Appalachian 50-0, and they were pretty good. And I go on and on. I remember them all. I would say this: the biggest memory I have of this group of youngsters, I know they're 50 years old, to me they're babies, was when we won the national championship in December. And then we go see, the governor of the state 2 months later. Of course, you think about it, we recruited for 2.5 months and started, and we got in the cars and drove over to Charleston to meet the governor. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was with those guys for 3 or 4 hours in, I guess, late February, early March, I hadn't seen them, in 2 or 3 months, and I realized what great people they were. Mm-hmm. I knew then why we had won the national championship, because we had a great bunch of kids, and we won a bunch of games in the fourth quarter. I'm sure all the Marshall people watch us remember we won a lot of games. And I would say the other thing too. So I'm getting wordy.
No, not at all.
Is the Marshall faithful really brought us home many times in the fourth quarter of all those games. I mean, you cannot imagine. See, a lot of these teams wouldn't play in front of big crowds, and all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. We're playing in front of 25 or 30,000 people who were not going to sit down and they weren't going to shut up. Yeah. And the Marshall faithful brought us home many times in many of those games. I mean, I would get home and I'd watch the game tape on Sunday, what happened, and it was unbelievable. The plays that our fans really encouraged our players to do, and it would intimidate the other team. I mean, it was totally a team effort. It was great stuff, and I'll never forget it.
So when Joan C. Edwards, at the time, it was just Marshall University Stadium, but when it was built, it had 28,000 those first few years.
Yeah.
And it was...
Seemed like 128 if you did.
Well, that was what I was going to say.
It was loud.
It had, I think, the fourth most capacity in the 1AA at the time, and that would be the equivalent of like Tennessee Stadium or Michigan Stadium and stuff like that. And we have always had a loud, passionate fan base, and that obviously has to come into play for home field advantage.
I think that it will. I think it'll come back to answer your question. I think when we had a tremendous home field advantage when we were playing, and I think the other teams knew that. And it surprised some of them. But there's no doubt that the fans were, Lord have mercy, it was loud. I mean, they weren't going to let us lose the game, and we had to lose the game, and we didn't lose many. I think we won. Someone told me we won 65 games in 6 years or so. I don't know what it was, 5 years. I don't know what it was.
So here's a stat for you. From 91 when the stadium opened through the 2002 season, there were 99 games here. Marshall won 94 of 99.
Really?
94 of 99 in 12 years.
How about that?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
But it was a team. I mean, and I've told many, it was a great time to be at Marshall. I mean, if you're like the kids that are here tonight, and we had a great coach. Jim Donnan was a great head coach. Chris Selfo, Brad Lambert, Tim Billings, Mark Gale. I'm going to leave some guys out. And we were a very close staff. We played a lot of golf together. We went out to dinner together. Our wives were friends. It was a really Edna Justice, our secretary. Heck, she was like an assistant coach.
Hey everyone.
I mean, we absolutely
really quick.
were very close, and I think that showed in recruiting. We got a lot of great recruits because our staff got players. So anyway, it was great stuff.
Coach, thank you very much for taking time.
No, thank you. You're
Yes,
good.
sir.
It's good to be back.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the ThunderCast. We've got another interview here. Legendary Marshall player, Hall of Famer in the 2000 class, Chris Parker. Chris, thank you very much for being here tonight and taking the time to sit down and talk with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's good to be back. Huntington's always a special place in my heart, so anytime I get to talk to some of the people, I feel like it's an honor to be able to do it.
Oh, yeah. And what are you doing now, just to update everybody?
Yeah, we're in Atlanta. My wife and I are in Atlanta. We're empty nest. My daughter's in New York. My son's in Charlotte. And my wife's an actor, so Atlanta's Hollywood East, so she's pursuing that. And, I work my day job, Zebra Technologies, customer success executive. Just enjoying life.
Can't get any better than that. Now, does Glenn keep knocking on the door since he's right down there too?
Glenn and I actually end up running into each other quite often. Tim Mitchell throws parties, at his spot, so we end up, running into each other there, and we do definitely keep in touch.
And you guys are fraternity brothers, and
we are. So that's definitely. Glenn's always been like that brother from another mother, I like to call him.
Yeah.
But always, much respect for Glenn. He looked up to him all those years there, and even now, he's a great father and great husband and a great friend. So Glenn's a special person to me.
Good. I was just talking earlier when I was talking to him. He doesn't seem to get the love that some of the other running backs do. He's got 31 rushing touchdowns, still tied for 6th here with Ahmad Bradshaw, who everyone talks about how many rushing touchdowns he had, and then Glenn had 31. He's still in the top 10 in running backs for yardage as well. So I've got to educate everybody on what Glenn Pedro did here, because kind of, and I don't want to embarrass you, he kind of came in here and blew him off the map, him and Orlando Hatchett.
No, I definitely don't see it as any blowing off the map. I feel like I learned from both Orlando and Glenn, and Glenn is the, although college football isn't professional, I like to think of Glenn as the ultimate professional, because there was never any animosity. It's like, I think they shifted, him more to a fullback spot.
Sure.
When I came in, and, Glenn is someone I admire greatly. Like I said, there's times that I have memories of being out with my now wife, and one particular evening we were out, and, something kind of happened when I was away, and Glenn came to her defense and protected her while I was away, and that's the kind of person Glenn is. I hold Glenn in as high regard as anybody. Glenn is truly, like I said, my brother from another mother, so I love him like a brother, and, high regard. And, as far as any, disrespect that he might get, for where his disrespect might come in other places, he has my ultimate respect, as far as, players that I played with and people that I hold in high regard as an athlete and as a man. So.
I think that it's not so much disrespect, that I just feel like he needs more love for the stats that he did and what he brought to the team and all that. But speaking of stats, you are the all-time record holder here with 5,924 yards. The last 3 seasons were all over 1,700 yards. You've got 3 of the top 4 rushing single season here at Marshall, all over 1,700, like I said. And Devin Rockhead Johnson got up over there to come in on one of those. 68 touchdowns. Highest decorated running back here. What do things like that mean to you? And please don't be humble.
I mean, it's very surreal, to be honest. I mean, I have a blanket that I got from the M Club, some, 5-10 years ago now, and I don't know that when is the last time I've actually held it up and looked at what it said, but it's hard to really to grasp. I'm turning 50 this year, so it's a monument. It's like my gray. We're just talking to all the guys and Coach Reese and different people over there, and 30 years have gone by.
Yeah.
And but just to have been able to have accomplished, something of that feat, and I can remember just even recently, just standing up there in the hotel looking out the window. It was a beautiful sunset today, and I was like, I know I was never immortal or never, did anything that where I kind of walked on water a little bit, but I feel like if I ever was a time that it would have been the years that I had here at Marshall, and Glenn Pedro and Aaron Ferguson and so many other guys, the coaches, all the players were a part of that. And my wife, Kimberly, I met her my freshman year, and she kept me very stable and focused, because college life can be different, if you don't have a focus, if you don't have a foundation, so I always want Marshall Nation, Herd Nation to know that I owe a debt of gratitude to my wife, Kimberly, and I think that the legacy that I have and those years for the success I had, I feel like I owe a lot of it to my wife, because
that's great.
She was there from day one.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of different questions that I ask these guys. I'm
Sure.
going to ask you as well.
Sure.
Favorite memory, is it the 92 championship, or is it something else that stands out in your storied career here?
The 92 championship was very cool. I was a freshman then, so I do remember that season. If I'm not remembering correctly, I was freshman, or I think that was the year that I had still behind Hatch and Pedro and everything, and I had my late in the game run that was 89 yards or whatever it was. So that's one of my fonder memories. I was exhausted, but it was cool to get in there when my role wasn't as prominent or as important, but to feel like I have some legacy in that year, just for, practice squad or whatever it would have been. So, yeah.
So Coach Matthews brought up, we were talking about different games, and he said as coaches that he always remembered the losses and they more than the wins, and that they haunted him and kept him up at night. And one that he brought up was the Boise game, and he brought up the field. And one of the quotes that he said, I want to get your reaction to this, he said that you had slipped in the open field a couple times because the field was so terrible.
Ice down.
And he said that you could have had easily 350 had you not done. Thoughts on that?
I don't question anything Coach Matthews says. He recruited me out of Lynchburg, so they were there for Herman Callaway. But that definitely was one of those games. It haunts me too because the field was iced. One that also haunts me is NC State. When we played them, we were winning. I think I had like 125 yards in the first half, pulled my hamstring, and, it's one I would love to get back.
Yes, sir.
It's one I would love to get back. So those are definitely the haunting ones. Sometimes steal a little bit of the joy of the ones that really went well. Yeah, they do.
Well, Chris, thank you for sitting down with me. I had your poster on they had the schedule and everything.
Yeah.
I first came here to watch my first game in '91, and you're one of the earliest Marshall memories that I had. So
Very
to be
cool.
able to, it's humbling to be able to sit down and talk to you. So,
Well, it's a pleasure. Pleasure's mine, and go Herd. That's all I can say. I mean,
Yes,
it's
sir.
Huntington's definitely a special place, and you think of all these football movies and Rudy and all of those different things. I mean, this place here, Huntington, was a nurturing place for me. Being fresh out of high school and being on my own for the first time. This was a special place, and guys like Glenn Pedro and like I said, my wife, just really made it a good home away from home. Shout out, bro. Shout out.
from the Peanut Gallery, we've got Glenn Pedro.
Exactly.
Chris, thank you very much.
You got it.
Welcome back to the ThunderCast Live. We are here with Shannon King, Huntington's own Shannon King, by the way, linebacker from the 90 to 93 seasons and part of this 92 championship. Shannon, thank you for sitting down.
I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
So give us a little, what's Shannon King doing now?
I guess like most adults, just working, professionally taking care of kids, right?
Yeah.
I have two daughters. One's already graduated. My youngest, she's a junior at VCU College back in Richmond, Virginia. Double major. Hopefully she'll graduate on time.
Yeah.
But all parents, we'll see.
Yeah.
I live in Georgia. I'm in the insurance industry, commercial lines. So I've been doing that for the last 17 years. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing now. Ever since I left Marshall University, hate to say it, over 30 years ago, right?
Yeah. So it makes me, I was just talking to Chris Parker that I came here, my first game that I came here was the 91 season.
Okay.
And I was 14 years old at the time, and we're talking about now I'm 43, and it's 30 years, and you guys are talking about it's been 30 years. But 30 years since I first started coming here, it makes me feel really old too. But anywho, walk me through growing up here in Huntington, knowing about Marshall and everything, and then having the opportunity to come here and play it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. We were talking about that earlier. Unbeknownst to me, versus a lot of other players, we talk about sons of Marshall, right?
Yeah.
I was a seed of son of Marshall, not even knowing it. I grew up here, was born here, actually 5 blocks from the college. And we were talking earlier, I used to come over here and play and sneak into some of the facilities buildings to try to get on the trampoline and whatever I could do as a kid. But in middle school is when I first started playing football. And all of our middle school championships were at Marshall University, Old Fairfield Stadium. I went to Huntington High. All of our home games, Marshall University.
Yeah.
Old Fairfield Stadium.
Yeah.
All of our track meets, Marshall University.
Yeah.
So without actually knowing it, I was always tied to Marshall University indirectly, subconsciously. And when I graduated high school, new coaching staff, Don and his team came in. Like other players, they get recruited. come to their homes. There's a big announcement about coming to Marshall University, but for me, it was totally different.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this. I was working a summer job, and I get a call from Coach Donnan asking me to come over here to see, just talk to him. So I came over and talked to him, and he saw some tape, and he saw me run track, which was surprising to me. And he said, "Hey, man, you like what we saw. We want to give you an opportunity to play for Marshall University, scholarship." Okay, absolutely. Where do I sign? Right?
Yeah.
So I signed on the dotted line, went home. We talked about him. It's like, oh, yeah, let's eat dinner, and everything just went on as status quo. So it wasn't a big deal in terms of media press and everybody knowing I was coming to Marshall. But my cousin LeBron came here, and a couple of guys I played with in middle school who went to Huntington East came here. Came to Marshall, and it was a blessing in disguise, not knowing at the time. But it was one of the best moves I ever made, coming to Marshall University.
So you mentioned Fairfield a couple of times, and growing up here in Huntington. The difference between going from there and then having, if I remember correctly, when this was built, I know it was 28,000 capacity, but I believe it was the fourth largest capacity for an 1AA school at the time. What was that like for the team to just have a bigger stadium and going from what they had over there to over here?
It was electrifying. It gave us a new sense of who we were coming from the old Fairfield. And again, it was renewing of Marshall University transferring from the old Fairfield Stadium coming over here to the new stadium. And again, we talk about 30 years out. Our first game against New Hampshire, we had people coming to the game on trains, okay, from Logan County.
Yeah.
You didn't hear anything about that with Marshall University coming to watch a Marshall game. It was local, people, Ohio, the tri-state area within a 20, 30-mile radius coming to watch Marshall play. But to see standing room only in that 28,000-seat stadium, to come watch us play in an inaugural game, our first game, was one of the best feelings, especially for us coming from the old Fairfield Stadium and saw what that was like. The environment, the feel of the crowd, the energy, and to come over here, it was something that none of us has ever experienced before. Just loved it. Loved it. It was a great game, 23-24. We pulled it out. You couldn't write a better story of the first game in the new Marshall Stadium for us to win by 1 point.
That was New Hampshire?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Yeah, and I was just telling Coach Matthews, he asked about the wins. He was like, I heard this and that. So, cool stat, when the stadium opened, 91, through 2002 season, 99 games were played, 94-5 is the record. 94 wins out of 99. So that just tells you the kind of home field advantage. Yeah. Favorite memory? Is it the championship, or is there a different one?
Well, here's the thing. Championship was the best, obviously. But from a competitive standpoint and a defensive player, what irks me more is 2 games.
Okay.
Appalachian State, which I despise Appalachian State. They were the first team to beat us at home.
Yeah.
Now, you may have to edit this out, but I've never felt so emotional after that loss.
Yeah.
I was almost in tears, and my teammates, was a loss. Let's, focus on the next game. We're going to get over this. For me, no.
Yeah.
I couldn't get over it. I wish we had another quarter to play those guys. I hate Appy State, and I hope this gets out to the masses. I hate them.
So with our podcast, we've got some networking with the other. I'm going to send this directly to them.
Please do. Let them know Shannon King played from 90 to 93. Yes, you guys did beat us in 93, the first team to beat us. But if I could put the pads on today and play one play and do something to self-destruct that team, I would do it in a heartbeat.
That's amazing.
I just despise – it's like you're coming into my house and taking food off my table.
So those 5 losses, 2 of them were to App. And, 2 of those.
Yes.
So it was like the thorn in the side.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But growing up here, being here at college, all that, did you have a favorite place, and it might not still exist now, but a favorite place that was a hangout or a place to eat or something like that? Any kind of memory with that?
Honestly, my favorite place was in the locker room with my teammates.
Absolutely,
It wasn't.
man, that's great.
It wasn't a bar. It wasn't a restaurant. It wasn't a classroom. It wasn't anywhere else. But it was in the locker room with my teammates. The best experience I ever had in my college career, because these were the guys I went to battle with. We came from such an eclectic background, right, from all across America. Because you understand, Marshall always sought players from certain areas, right? Down south, a little bit of East Coast, some PA. But once Coach Donnie came, he started looking at local talent. He started looking at talent from Virginia. He started looking at talent from PA. And it changed the dynamics of who we were as a team. And not just on the field, but the personality of who Marshall was.
Yeah.
And that's what changed us, in my opinion, of an average team, and I don't take anything away from anybody else, of just a winning team, but a championship caliber team. You don't do that unless you got a lot of people with a lot of grudges who want to be better, who come from situations, not just economically, but from the football field of wanting to be better players. The best competition I ever played against was my teammates. It was a love-hate relationship. Now, when we warmed up, it was all fun and games. But once Coach said it was live and we snapped up the chin straps, they hated us just as much as we hated them. And it was almost like a 15-round match of a championship boxing round. And it was almost, you had to pull people apart during practice, that we got to stop this. We got a game this weekend. We were so intent of beating one another every day in practice. That's what made us better on the weekends. So we came across our opponent, we looked at them as, okay, we wanted to take out our frustrations during the week, so you're our next opponent. All we saw was red.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of players talk about, but we really hated everybody we played against. We wanted to beat them into submission, and that was such a euphoric feeling as a defensive player to play against somebody who felt like they had a chance against us. Now, there was a few that had a chance, but we wanted to beat everybody we played against into submission, not just win, but beat them into submission, so if we play them again, they knew they were playing against a championship caliber team.
Loaded question. Best player that you ever played against? It could be here in practice, or it could be against another team.
That is a good question. The best players, in quotations, I ever played against. I can say that the hardest hit I've ever experienced in my life was against Matt Downey in practice, once he recovered from his knee injury the year prior. In a game, I would probably have to say, and I say this with a lot of resentment, and excuse me if I can't remember his name, it had to be Youngstown State, running back, from 91, 92, and 93. Great player. He had the same kind of tenacity that we had when we played, but that's what you expected. You wanted to play against the best, and he was probably one of the hardest physically and mentally players I played against. Now, was he better than me? Absolutely not. And that's just me as a player saying to another player, you're not going to be better than me now. Did he get a couple of better plays than I did in certain downs? Absolutely. But overall, I would call it a stalemate.
There you go. There you go. Well, Shannon, thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys, wanting me to come over and talk to you guys. I appreciate what you guys doing, and go Herd.
Yes, sir. Always go Herd.
And we are who?
We are Marshall.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to ThunderCast Live. I'm here with Matt McCormick. We have had a dreary day. As you can see, the rain behind us. KD will not be here for segment 2. It's just too tough to try to get him in. You know, in segment 1 we had a lot of technical difficulties and everything, so he's going to sit out this segment. And we've got some guests. DeAndre Reeves was just here during the break. He's coming back. He went to get a poncho for his son and himself, so he'll be back and hopefully dry, but we'll have him on. Maybe some of the guys from the 92 team, but definitely we want to sit here and give a little props to Matt McCormick of McCormick Insurance Group, a new insurance agency. Matt, tell us a little bit about your agency, and then let's talk about what you did for the tailgate today.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's McCormick Insurance Group. We're in Cerrito. We're at 711 C Street in Cerrito. The best way to describe it, kind of on the corner of Tudor's and Rocco's.
Tudor's and Rocco's.
Everyone knows those two fine establishments. So we have a full line of insurance products: auto, home, renters, life, commercial, do a little bit of everything, and just really excited to be a part of this tailgate, excited to be a small business, a local business owner, bringing local food and being a part of your tailgate. We're just excited to, even with the elements.
Even with the elements. We've got some customers, potential customers, all that here tailgating off camera that you can't see, but no matter the rain, the situation, we're going to tailgate. ThunderCast Live is going to do their thing. You said you wanted to be a part of that, which we appreciate.
Absolutely.
And it's great, as we talked briefly, that you used a locally owned restaurant to do this. What does that mean to you about the community and this around here? Because you're a lifelong resident.
Absolutely. It means everything, and especially to be able to support each other.
Yeah.
I was just telling the story last night. Where I'm at in Cerrito, I'm exactly 1 mile from where my grandfather actually owned a Chevrolet dealership. So to be in that same community and be a business owner, where I have such strong ties. My mom still lives there. My youngest daughter, Kennedy, goes to CK Elementary. But just a lifelong resident of the Huntington area completely. It means a lot to be able to do this.
So tying it in a little bit with what we got going on behind us here with this football game that's going to start at 3:30. Who you got? How do you have us performing? I'm putting you on the spot here, but how do you have the herd performing today?
I really hope that Marshall takes advantage of what this game is, and it's a chance to, yes, it's against lesser competition, but you can't take them lightly. I think everyone knows by now the story that Gardner-Webb only lost by 4 to Coastal Carolina, our Sunbelt brethren there. So I hope Marshall takes an opportunity to work on itself this game. You're coming off a really tough road stretch, including the win at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to get home. Obviously, the weather's not ideal, but it is what it is. You're in friendly territory. You're among your own fans. Let's focus, regroup, and get ready for what's going to be an extremely tough conference schedule.
Yeah, and hang on 1 second. Hey, Dick. Dick.
What's that?
Come on over. It's fine. We've got one of the players' parents that's coming up. He didn't want to hop on camera because we were recording, but make yourself at home. Tell everyone to make themselves at home. Yeah, we've got anything over here that you want to help yourself. This is Matt McCormick with McCormick Insurance Group. He sponsored all this, so grab whatever you want. All right, so we talked about the weather, and KD and I earlier. What do you think might happen today with turnovers or establishing offense, that sort of thing?
Obviously, I don't think it's going to be a very pass-heavy game. I could be wrong, but the ball's going to be slick. But that also means the running game is going to have to everyone's going to have to take care of the football.
Yeah.
On returns, on the running game. That's all right. It's live. You're going to have to protect the football because this team, again, sneaky good Gardner-Webb team. They're going to take advantage of any mistakes that Marshall has self-inflicted, especially. So the weather's definitely a factor.
Yeah. So we were talking, turnovers could help decide this game.
Sure.
And I posed the question to KD of an over and under, 3 turnovers combined, which would you take?
I would take the over.
You would take the over?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so
and hopefully what that means is Marshall is going to force a couple of extra turnovers.
So he was predicting 2 takeaways and 1 giveaway for us and everything. So he was right on the nose at 3. He said that was a good number to pose. So,
well, I'm not going to go crazy. I'd say 4. I'd say 3 to 1.
3 to 1. Yeah. Okay. So some players to watch out for today. Who do you have that might be an impact player?
Well, I'm obviously laboring running the ball. And we've worked him to death the last 3 games, but unfortunately we're going to need him to do the same, especially in these elements. So I look for him to have a big game. Obviously with our quarterback situation, I'm assuming our starter will be the starter. Columbia, I hope that we can just not, again, self-inflict wounds and really just be able to manage the game. And again, just turnovers will be key. So I'm really looking for the running game to stand out.
So do you see any of the 2 quarterback?
Yeah, I do, because I think this will be a team to do it against.
Okay.
And really not so much that you're implementing a 2 quarterback system as you are getting both those guys reps. So that'll be something to look for.
Fair enough. We talked a little bit about football, and we talked very, very briefly. But again, tell me about the tailgate. What it meant to you to be able to sponsor this. I know you and I had a lot of discussions about this.
Yeah.
Your agency is very new, but this was something that you wanted to do. You're a lifelong herd fan, and you wanted to get involved with what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. And like I said to you earlier, what you and KD have done just in the short time you've had this podcast is awesome. It was much needed, in my opinion. And, we're heavy on football right now because it's football season, but you give lots of airtime to all sports, both men and women.
Yeah.
And you even highlight their academic achievements, which is awesome, too. So when you started this, I'd always had it in mind. I was getting ready to launch my agency, and then you came up with the Tailgate Live, which is another awesome thing that you all do, and it just made sense. And we're excited to be a part of it. Local, supporting local. So when the opportunity came up, it was a no-brainer for me. And again, lifelong herd fan, so I'd have been here anyways. But now I get to put my business in front of it.
Yeah, and we certainly appreciate it. Now, can you tell us anything about your business besides where it's located? What is it that you represent?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're an independent agency, so I think what's special about that is I am not bound to one specific insurance carrier across all those lines that we talked about earlier. So I truly work on behalf of my customer to not only find them the best coverage, but the best price.
Which you did for me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I did. We did save you quite a bit of money, but we also improved your coverage.
Improved my coverage.
So in insurance, and look, insurance is not sexy to talk about, right? Yeah. But one thing that I pride myself in is actually educating the customer on exactly what their coverages are, what the coverages mean, and make sure that it's a right fit for them. Because insurance is kind of boring, you may have it set up on auto pay, you pay it automatically, you don't ever look at it. We take a look at your coverage that you have now, we show you ways it can improve, and we get you in a fit that's more affordable for you. So that's really what we try to do and what we've done so far.
Yeah. And I follow your page, and I see all the people giving the reviews, and they have stated exactly your goals are exactly what they are saying that you've done for them.
Correct.
Is that you have saved them money and also, in doing that, improved their coverage with what you did for me as well.
Yep.
So find McCormick Insurance Group on Facebook and follow them.
McCormickInsuranceGroup.com as well.
McCormickInsuranceGroup.com is the website, and you can get a free quote right from there.
You can request a quote. It gives you, the info I need to just reach out to you and talk, and no hassle. It's not high pressure. If you stay with who you stay with, I hope there are people that are loyal to me like that one day.
Yes,
so
yes.
There's just no harm in checking it out.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talked about on the latest podcast when we were mentioning that you were sponsored, is that when you don't have to wait until a triggering event.
No, and it really surprised me how many people don't realize that.
Yes.
That two of the biggest holdups are they think they're in a commitment with their existing carrier. You're not.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, from the time you cancel, you will be due a refund.
Yeah.
The other thing that people try, that trick people is they think if they're in, like their homeowners is in escrow, they think that it's such a process to switch that over. We actually do the legwork for you.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
don't let those two things scare you.
Okay. Well, Matt, thanks again. I'm going to let you get back to your
Yeah,
family.
absolutely.
You've got your beautiful daughters over here
Yes,
tailgating.
my daughters Miley and Kennedy are here. My wife had to work, unfortunately, but we're here enjoying it. Even though, like we said, the weather's not ideal, but we're having a great time. Great food, and if you're watching this live, come join us. There's still time.
Yes, sir. Thank
All
you
right.
again.
Thanks, Russ.
All right.
Appreciate you.
All right, so we are still here. We're going to tailgate, like we said, at all points with this weather and everything. But we bring this to you every week. How could we bring this to you? We bring this to you because Ignite Link brings this to you. And I've got Jed here. Jed, obviously we can't do this stuff without you. So
Can you not now? I'm just kidding.
no, because otherwise I would be standing here like Jim Cantor in the rain with a phone, and so thank you for what you do for this, and you constantly remind everyone that this is not what you do, but we still are bringing a quality thing when this is still not what you do. So what does Ignite Link do?
Okay, well, and I'm hoping week to week that, it's starting to get better. We're learning some things, and hopefully we can expand on this in the future and bring some more exciting stuff to the viewers. Ignite Link is a managed services provider, IT managed services provider. So what we do is we come into your organization, we evaluate your security and IT needs for your computer systems, network systems, and then we manage it for you. Is kind of the easiest way to put it. So with an ever-changing world with ransomware and viruses and phishing and all these things, it's becoming more and more complicated to run your business. And your IT becomes more and more complicated. So before, you could probably run it maybe by yourself, or maybe you had somebody who was pretty well versed in it, or fairly well versed in it, who could help you manage your systems. Well, things have gotten so complicated that you really need an IT team to manage what you do, because downtime is that costs money. I mean, that's a loss. So can you afford to be down for a day or 2 days or a week?
And almost everything now is computerized. Yeah. And businesses just cannot afford the time that it would cost them while they're down is probably value to what you bring to them to make sure that they stay up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do it in a couple different ways. We put in mitigation. I tell everybody I sit across the table with it. I cannot prevent you from getting hacked. I can't prevent that. Nobody can. Yeah. But what we can do is put in mitigation to make you less likely to be attacked. And in the event that you are or have been attacked,
there's a plan.
There's a plan in place to restore your data. And that's what's important, because a lot of times ransomware is very popular. They encrypt your data. And unfortunately, even locally, I've heard horror stories here in Huntington of several businesses having to shell out lots of money to get their data back. And so
I have, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, and so that's what we're here for. So we're here to be a partner with your business, to consult with you and work with you and make sure that your business runs smoothly from an IT standpoint.
But you're also not employees, so it saves the businesses that way, because they don't have to have their own internal IT department saving them money in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we do is you call it consolidated billing when it comes to your IT infrastructure. So we can source you the equipment for your business, but we also can source software for your business as well. So everything that we use to secure your network, we provide to you, and it's in one bill. So it's very budget friendly. Surprise IT costs month to month. You're not going to get hit with a $10,000 bill or something insane. You know what your costs are moving forward, and so it's that peace of mind. You're paying for that peace of mind, but as well as you're also getting good service and the assistance you need should a problem arise.
And I'm going to switch gears on you.
Okay.
Because we're here at a Marshall game.
Right.
And I'm going to put you on the spot like I did everyone else. I don't know if you heard their answers and everything. I did an over-under on turnovers combined for both teams, and that's at 3. Are you taking the over or the under?
I think I have to take the over on that.
Okay.
I just with the wet conditions, and it's hard to tell. The rain's been off and on today, but it's pretty wet out there. I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to say barely over, but I'm going to go with the over.
So maybe 4 combined? 4?
I think I'm going to go with 4.
And does Marshall win that turnover battle in your head?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
So keys to victory today, obviously winning the turnover battle sounds like it's one of them. What else do you have?
Yeah, just don't make the game-changing mistakes.
Okay.
It's about discipline, and the last few games I think there's been slight lapses in discipline, I would say, and it's just been unfortunate that those slight lapses. Look, Columbia rolling out and getting hit, in that fumble, and that's a scoop and score against Troy. How often does that happen on a fumble where he would jump back on it, or he escapes that rusher and throws the ball and we get 10, 15 yards. But it's eliminating those mistakes, playing good, consistent football, and if we do that, I think we walk out of here with a win.
Score prediction.
I can't, with the rain, but you can't discount Leyburn. I'm gonna go 30.
Wow.
10. 30 to 10.
So lots of offense in this kind of weather, considering, they didn't at Troy, they put up 7 points. At Bowling Green, they put up 28. So Notre Dame, 26. So you've got them at 30 in the weather.
I think that
breaking out the offense.
Listen, I'm calling for a good game and a couple of with the wet weather. I think it goes back and forth, and I think it's about time things go a little bit our way. I think some mistakes go our way a little bit.
So I'm not arguing your points. I'm just saying that's pretty bold, because I keep saying that we're going to go back and forth. KD had said 28-14, and then I keep saying I could see that, but I could also see it being a very low-scoring game. Because of the weather, that there might be fumbles, there might be interceptions, there might be inability to move the ball. It might turn into a field goal attempt fest, that sort of thing. So Jed with Ignite Link is going with 30, and I'm going to hold him to that. So after the game, I'm going to get with you, and I'm going to say, hey, Jed, let's revisit this.
We'll have to, we'll settle up.
Yeah. All right, so MVP, you had mentioned Leyburn there, but
how do you not give it to him?
Okay.
And especially in a game like this, where, even if it's a pretty day, he's getting, a blue million carries. So I think he's, we're going to ride him pretty hard today, and he's going to deliver.
I hope so. I truly hope so. And I'm going to bring us back full circle when you started talking about Ignite Link and everything, and then we talked about Marshall football afterwards. I just want to remind everybody and people that might not have seen the interview that we had with you in the first game, tailgate, is the reason that we are doing this together is because we all had a love for Marshall football. You were listening to the podcast, you had discovered it, and then that's what brought us together was Marshall football. This wasn't a situation where you have to pretend to be a fan. You have been a fan forever. And I think that's important to our people. Marshall fans like doing business with Marshall fans.
Absolutely.
And local people like doing business with local. You're here local. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started my business back in 2017 in Huntington, and that was on purpose. I set up business here, which means I pay the B&O, I pay the user fee, and I wanted to be, in the system here in Huntington. Good, for better or for worse. Because I wanted to deal with clients here locally in Huntington and in the surrounding areas. So the bulk of our business is local. So if we end up talking and consulting with somebody who's listening, we're going to provide you references, and most of the references are going to be people you probably know. Because that was on purpose. We're not some big, huge conglomerate or anything like that. We started local to serve local, and that's kind of been our mission ever since.
Awesome. Well, Jed, thank you very much. I'm going to let you get back in the production truck.
There we go.
But and also to stay out of this weather and everything. But can't do it without you, obviously, with powering up our tailgate every week. So.
Well, we enjoy it. I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and
we had fun last night. Didn't
absolutely,
we?
yeah. Well, you get to meet some pretty cool players. Cool people, and you just never know what kind of who you can get in contact with or who you rub shoulders with. So I'm having a lot of fun, man. This has been awesome. So we appreciate we're along for the ride.
Yes, sir. All right,
So.
we'll get back to it.
All right.
So, herd fans that are tuning in, you see the weather behind us. We've all talked about how this weather may impact this game. We might not be able to pass. The other team might not be able to pass. It might be low scoring. And then we've had other people that say, hey, I see us breaking away and overpowering with our talent and faster and that sort of thing. So it's really all over the map. I don't know that we have a really, really, really good answer. But one thing that we're going to do is we're always going to support Marshall football at the ThunderCast. So we're going to brave the weather. We're going to be in the stands, getting wet. Hopefully you will as well. If you're in the Huntington area and you have tickets, hope that you're over there. I hope to see you over there. If you are around the stadium right now tailgating and you happen to be watching on your phone, or if there's a TV at the tailgate, we encourage you to stop by. Come over and say hi. We got plenty of food thanks to McCormick Insurance Group. We've got plenty to drink for you and everything. And I also saw someone just walk onto the screen. I don't know if I could persuade them to come over and sit down with me for a second. Chuck, can I get you to sit down with us for a second? I just want to introduce everyone to someone that is constantly behind the scenes doing everything for Marshall. Huge fan of Marshall, loves everything Marshall. Chuck McGill. Chuck, welcome to the ThunderCast Live.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
A little impromptu, but okay.
Little impromptu. You just happened to wander onto camera and you came over, so I had to holler at you and have you sit down. We talk a lot about what Marshall means to you and everything, and you are hoping that today, even with these weather conditions, is just a home run. But what do you have for this team that you love on the weather conditions as far as like performance, keys to victory, that sort of thing?
For the team?
The team.
The team? Okay. The football team.
The football team, not your team.
Yeah.
The football team.
Just making sure. Yeah. There's lots of teams involved in making a Marshall game day go.
And let me tell the people real quick, we take for granted when we come to a game all this stuff that goes on around us, but there are teams of the dozens that make this thing, from facilities, from not just the coaches, but facilities, production, all this stuff. We have a very good staff here that does a lot of different things.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's from 90 minutes in, it's timed down to the second. So literally, I looked at my phone and I said, okay, I have to get Coach Huff out of the locker room at 2:47 p.m.
Yeah.
45 minutes before kick.
Yeah.
I got time to run over and see Russ real quick. So that was really how it played out in my head.
That's great, man. That's great. So for that team that's on the field, keys to victory today?
Yeah, I mean, it's all around us. You know, how they handle the weather, how they handle the adversity. We saw what turnovers can do. You know, when you're on the wrong side of that ledger in a big way. We don't win very often when we're on the wrong side of that. But I think you're not just looking at big performance from Leyburn, but I think you'll see Ethan Payne a lot and Anthony Turner a lot because those guys are going to really have to shoulder the burden today when you can't throw vertically. You know, you have to find creative ways. So unfortunately, you're going to have the short passing game and running the ball. But we've seen what Leyburn can do in place of Rasheen Ali and 4 straight 100-yard games, and we've seen flashes from Ethan Payne, and then everybody saw Anthony Turner in that opener. He's a good one. He's a good one down. We were talking with our ESPN Plus crew before the game, and giving him some history. Not just Rasheen Ali, and not just Leyburn. You go back in Knox. His last year he was the reigning MVP. So year after year, there's been people in this system that can carry the ball, and we're going to need those guys big time today.
So I had the same outlook that there would be short passes. It would be kind of run heavy, both teams. And I also said that it's likely that we see some turnovers just from the slickness on the field, people slipping, maybe losing the ball, the slickness of the ball. So I've been posing an over and under for combined turnovers, and I said 3. Would you take the over or the under?
I would take the over.
Over?
Yeah.
All right. So do you see us winning that?
I do see us
turnover
winning.
battle?
The way we play defense, and we've been really close on things like block punts this year. We're due to get one, and this is the perfect when you need like an extra step to plant your foot. That gives the defense an extra second to get there, or the punt rush. So I think you might see that kind of thing. What you got to do,
Very
Russ,
good analysis.
is like we lost to Troy.
Yeah.
We missed a field goal, and you had a defensive score,
Yeah.
right? So you can't have if you're going to turn it over, don't let it hurt you twice.
Sure.
Let your defense get out there. If we get the defense on the field, even in short field situations, they're not going to be able to kick it. So just limit that. Don't do it. Leave yourself open to a defensive score, and we'll be all right.
And that's very good analysis because I can count at least 5 very close to a block punt that we've had, if not more.
We've been really close on both. Talik's going to break one.
Yeah.
I predicted before the season you get 2, so he owes me 2. But we've been really, really close.
Hopefully
on the punt
today,
rush.
right? I would take 2 today.
That would be great. But you might see a lot of people running from punts today.
Yeah,
so.
I would imagine so. But anyway, Chuck, I'm going to let you get back. I know you're a busy man.
Yep.
Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
All right, Herd fans, we hope to have DeAndre Reeves back over here in a few minutes. He had to go, as we said, to get a couple of ponchos to try to stay out of this weather. And this weather, man, it's not too cold, and it's in spurts. Like right now, it's barely even a drizzle. It's sprinkling. But then in spurts, it just comes in, and it's a downpour. And if that happens during the game, it's going to be messy. I don't know for our out-of-state fans, if you're watching on TV, if that'll actually play on the cameras on just how wet and rainy it is. But it's going to be a very slick field. We keep harping on turnovers and what to look for today, and hopefully we just come out on the other end of that. With DeAndre not here and with the 92 team being across the way, I'm going to try to see if I can walk over there and round somebody up. I don't want to just have me as a talking head on here for another 15, 20 minutes waiting on someone. So we're going to go ahead and cut to a break. And then when that break comes back, hopefully we'll have DeAndre Reeves. But let's say take about a 30-minute break, and we'll come back with our final segment.